Under Greg Abbott's orders on Friday at 12:01 p.m., everybody got the same text message in Texas that no more than 10 people outside gathering. Everybody needs to wear masks. And my maintenance manager, my maintenance assistant called me around 10:40 at night on July 3rd and said, hey, I need your help. We need to secure the pool area. There's about 70 people out here. There's nothing really major going on, but we need to shut this down quickly and be able to secure the pool. I'm asking people to leave, but since I'm maintenance and I'm not the manager, they're not listening to me. So my husband drove me out to the property since my car was in the shop. When we arrived to the property, my maintenance guy handed off a fire extinguisher and stated, hey, they're not just using the grills at the pool, but they've brought their own charcoal grills down. They have like candles lit all over the place. Our property has a general liability insurance clause in there that the property is a non-smoking property, down to no lighters, no lighter fluid, no combustibility, no charcoal, all those types of things. So when I accessed the pool area, there was approximately 70 to 80 people. I stood at the foot of the pool, just announced myself, and had told everybody that we needed to close the pool down. The pool technically shut down at 5 p.m. that day since we've been operating on reduced capacity as well as reduced hours to manage the potential of COVID spread on the property. I'd say most of the residents complied. You know, you're met with "fuck you" and "you're ruining my night" and all this kind of stuff. It is what it is. Nobody likes to have the party ruined. But after explaining to those residents that got out and approached me, I explained to them, the police are on their way. I'm giving you guys an opportunity to pack up and leave. I don't know what the cops are going to do when they get here. You can be issued trespassing. You could get a fine for this, a citation. So just go home, like leave. We have to secure it anyways. So as that progressed, I had walked to the back side of the property, and we have like a little pavilion area that it's considered an outdoor kitchen. There's countertops and an ice maker and a refrigerator. So there was a woman standing back there, and I said nicely, I said, can you please put the fire out? And I noticed that she had these 4 or 5 citronella candles on the table. And one of them was, I don't know if it was a napkin that was burning or like a tablecloth, but there was something smoldering on the table. And I made remark to it. Immediately it was "fuck you, faggot," like right off the bat. So, and I know this resident, so I responded back. I was like, no, that's not the way to approach this. I was like, I have to shut the pool down. Like, it's ridiculous that our governor couldn't do enough to prevent this, and now makes us responsible as essential workers, that we're now police, judge, jury, and executioner. So I instructed her again. I was like, I'm going to put it out with my fire extinguisher. So literally it was a 2-second spray across the top of the table. At that point, immediately she starts screaming, "I'm going to kill you. You're a faggot. You're a piece of shit." On and on and on, which started riling some of the other residents up that were in that area. So once I figured out that this was escalating, I was like, okay, this is it. I need to get out of here, wait for the police to show up. At this point, it had been 45 minutes that the police had not shown up onto the property. So I was able to collect my maintenance assistant and escort him out of the pool, which that took 25 minutes in itself, because residents were preventing him from leaving, but also had started throwing things at me, started threatening my person, threatening my personal safety, and started pulling on my shirt and literally hitting me in the back of the head, up and down my body, kicking me. So I again attempted to leave the pool area and was met by several different individuals that played key roles in this. One individual came up to me and said, "Look, I work for the State Department. I'm an attorney, and what you're doing is illegal. You can't shut the pool down." You know, same thing that people are saying, their constitutional rights are being infringed upon because we're requiring people to wear masks. This is a health and safety issue. This isn't, hey, I'm the manager that came out here with guns ablazing and want to ruin your night, even though you're trespassing, you're violating community policies, you're violating governor orders, you're violating health and human services directives that have been given to our property over 24 times. And I said to him, I said, okay, well, if you're an attorney, then you need to talk to your friends and tell them to chill out and like let us leave the pool area. His response was, no, that's not going to happen, which within a matter of a minute, another individual comes up to me, starts screaming in my face, literally like his nose pressing against mine. I have my mask on, he doesn't. No one at the pool had their mask on. And I told the guys, like, you need to stop yelling and you need to back off. So again, grabbing my shirt, preventing me from leaving. Finally, my maintenance assistant was able to meet me somewhat halfway between where we were trying to get out. And we started walking out of the pool area. My husband, the whole time, he knows better than to get involved in this. So he stood off to the back and just was watching everything and started recording some audio of residents screaming and whatnot, and didn't get really much video footage because I had directed him to get out of the pool area. So the pool area is enormous. So at the head of the pool, there's a big steel gate. So when I walked out of it, I kicked the rock out of the way that was used to prop it open. And the residents and their guests decided to escalate their attack. I've already left and I've already told everybody I'm going to the office. It was about 20 to 25 individuals that were screaming, kill the fucking faggot, burn his house down, hang him, we're gonna murder you, we're gonna beat you up, with one individual screaming over and over and over again, keep recording him. If he hits anybody, we can get him arrested. I, throughout this ordeal, did not touch a resident as far as any physicality, other than a resident who was taking her cell phone and bashing it into my face saying, I'm recording you, motherfucker, I'm gonna get you fired. And I grabbed that cell phone and I pulled it and attempted to like throw it onto the ground so she would at least get out of my face and go retrieve her phone. Instead of that, it was residents that started escalating the threats, the verbal attacks, and began punching me even further. One individual came up and used his forearm and hit from my ear. You can still see the kind of mark right here, my ear straight down to here through my jawline. And when he did that, I bent over, I leaned forward and was completely like taken off guard, didn't black out, but was kind of stunned. At which point another person who is a resident on the property that states he's in the military, states he's an Army person, had grabbed my shirt, spun me around and lifted me up by the top of my shirt and took a fire extinguisher and the nozzle on it. And we're talking, this isn't like a small, like your little teeny tiny ones you get that look like they're for a Barbie house. These are like your 2 foot tall ones. They're industrial. He emptied almost 3/4 of the fire extinguisher all in my face. This wasn't like, I'm gonna squirt your shirt and show you that we mean business. This was, I'm so mad that you are ruining our night and making us listen to what governor's orders are, state orders, Health and Human Services, community policies, our management companies' directives and policies. And at which point I kind of became blinded. There's an audio that I'll have that I can release later, where it's literally me screaming at the top of my lungs, my husband's name over and over and over again. And while I'm screaming, residents that start repeating his name in front of him. And the audio picks up where I end up stumbling back to where he's at to try to get him to escort me to the office because I can't see at this point. And that's when I got hit at least 2 or 3 more times. And this didn't stop. Like, these residents, I screamed at one point, leave us the fuck alone. We're going to the office. Like this, at this point, this is similar to somebody robbing your house and then you chasing them down 20 miles later and then shooting them. You know, you weren't defending the pool. You were defending what you think is your God-given right to not wear a mask, to jeopardize not only your health and safety and well-being, but the other residents there that comply. My vendors, team members, families that bring their kids over there. My whole operative when I went out to the property, and the only thing I thought was these people are going to get sick and kill each other. And personally, I'm so sick and tired of watching my doctor and nurse friends treat friends of theirs that have gotten infected because they were wearing their mask and they did everything the right way. And friends of mine telling me, we lost 3 more patients today. I knew one of them. Family members that are getting sick. People that I haven't talked to in years that are coming out of the woodwork saying, I thought this was a hoax, and are getting sick and violently sick. And to go out there and try to enforce something that I as a manager am held responsible for and can be personally liable in a situation where if I don't do enough, that my ownership could fire me for that reason. If I don't put a fire out, I could be fired for that reason. So again, once we got up to the office area, there's cameras that are recording. We got into the office. There's video footage of me where I go out the front door, where my husband and my maintenance guy are bringing me huge, it's like Subway cups full of water, and I'm rinsing my eyes out because our eye wash station is at the back of the property where the pool area is. So I can't send him back there to go get PPE to help me to see better. So I'm using a sink. I'm using, anything I possibly can to get the fluid out of my eyes. I start throwing up all this yellow fluid. If you've never swallowed fire extinguisher, it's not great. It's not a great taste. Not only that, but this went on for 7 seconds of you spraying it in my face. It clearly states on a fire extinguisher, this can kill somebody. This is something that is designed to snuff out oxygen, and you know that, and you are a military person. This is something that, why are you in the military? Why are you screaming all this horrible stuff, riling up your friends, and trying to get me attacked more? Once we got to the office, we locked ourselves in there after I can stop throwing up. The police, all of a sudden, it was 6 cop cars that show up with our Heartland Security Patrol that came on the property. And we timed it. They were on the property for 3 minutes. They did a quick walk of the pool area, came back to the office. And while they're in the office, I said, what did you guys determine? They said, oh, well, everybody's leaving. There's people that are really, really mad at you right now. And they're saying they're going to kill you. And I said, yes, here's individuals. Here are very descriptive, down to what they are wearing, that I'm letting you know that these are people that are literally outside our back door in our office. And the cops stood there, literally stood there. And I start to question, I'm like, why aren't we going out there and making arrests? These are individuals that have committed an assault, have committed on what would be a federal level, a hate crime, as one cop stated, they want to kill you. If you did not have your husband there and your maintenance guy there, there's a really good chance you would be dead. And it took me up until yesterday to process that and to realize, oh my God, we had a bus driver in Michigan that was beat to death on his bus for trying to protect the other patrons. We had the leader of the airline union coming on television saying masks should be mandated in all airplanes and we should be able to ground a plane if people don't comply. And Spirit Airlines yesterday, an individual, a male, beat up and threw a woman against the wall because he refused to wear his mask. And I commented to the police, I said, this becomes a jurisdiction that we should not have as essential persons, essential people that are checking your groceries out, that are making sure that we are keeping a restaurant open so you don't have to cook at home, to check out your groceries and make sure you have toilet paper for the next week. And it's ridiculous that the guttural response on people is, I don't like what you're telling me to do. So instead of me not coming to your business, I'm going to attack you and I'm going to threaten to kill you and I'm going to attempt to kill you. So with the police, they got the descriptions of the individuals. It was 30 minutes of me yelling at the cops, do your fucking job, do your fucking job. One of the cops finally stated to me, I said, I want to know what I need to tell my ownership, to tell my management company, and to tell myself when I go to bed at night. What do I need to tell them and myself to know that if this happens again, we call the police who are there to protect and serve, you're not protecting, you're not serving. The issue that one of the officers brought to our attention was the fact of the optics on this, that unfortunately, because several of the residents that were involved were minorities, and the police just don't seem like they can keep their fucking knee off the back of a black person's neck, is a reason that they have been told to stand down. They've been told not to enforce this. They've been told, you don't know how bad this will look on the Dallas police, and our reputation as cops is already so tarnished. So instead of making arrests or getting apartment numbers from these people to go the next day when things calm down, they literally left the property without me having paramedic attention. I was in my office with my regional talking to her about the severity of this and that I was getting medical attention and I was waiting on the ambulance to show up. the cops made commitments to not only make sure I got to my car, but that I would be escorted out of the property short of getting home, just in case there was somebody who decided to follow. And that's a genuine fear that I had, was they're not done. They were outside the office during this whole entire time screaming, they're going to kill this faggot manager. And my comment over and over again to the police was, you have them out there stating this. They're literally outside the door right now. And one of the cops' remarks was, look, if we go out there and they don't have their ID on them, we can't make an arrest. And I called bullshit right away. I said, if I didn't have my identification in my car or was wandering around, in an abandoned warehouse and I didn't have my ID on me, you wouldn't say go on and go home. You would issue a trespass warning and you would probably arrest me. And I commented over and over again, what's going to happen the next time? Because there will be a next time. There will be another time, because it's happened in the past and it will happen again tomorrow or an hour from now. The police's response to it was, you need to get patrol. And I said, yep, that's why you're here. Let's get patrol. And they said, no, not us. You need to call and have a third-party company set up and be on your property 24 hours a day, because your community is that dangerous. The property is an A-plus luxury property. It's just on the wrong side of town. I've been there since September of last year. I've had to evict over 60 residents for domestic issues, drug trafficking, prostitution, disorderly contact, peeing in our elevator to short the elevator out on purpose, which was a $10,000 expense. As managers, when we come on these properties, we are not just there to make money. We're there to improve the living condition of the residents. We're there to make sure the property continues to perform, that the property makes money, that we're following all applicable state, local, and federal laws. We aren't the goddamn police. And when you ask for support from your police department, because we're told to reduce crime and we're told to do all these measures, and the police come out and they literally don't do anything. And then they abandon you on the property while you're sitting there with the inability to control your heart rate, the inability to breathe normally, throwing up. I have lost vision in my left eye. I've lost hearing in my left ear. I will have post-traumatic stress probably the rest of my life because of this. And where it gets worse is my management company's response. My regional's response was, well, when all this calms down tomorrow, go out to the property and send a letter out to everybody and let them know the pool is shut down for 2 weeks for this bad behavior. My response was no. Why on God's earth would I, as a victim of an assault, go out to the property less than 24 hours later instead of getting medical attention, instead of having workers' comp insurance picked up so I could go get treatment without having to pay for medical bills that the hospital would have billed me right then and there. So I refused to do that. The conversation through the weekend was, we need to get a letter out, get a letter out, get a letter out. I have text messages stating get a letter out, phone conversations. And I instructed my maintenance team, I said, do not go out there. Do not lock the pool down. If you do, you're on your own. I'm not coming back up there. So my maintenance guys were like, if they gay bashed you and they beat the shit out of you and could have killed you, why is Graystar asking you to go out there and do this? The response that you get from the company is, we could be fined $250 per person that is violating this. We all hear that, great, the person that's in violation is going to get the fine. We see the videos out there of people throwing food at different restaurants, throwing groceries at people, using every racial epithet and swear that you can possibly think of, homophobic, xenophobic, racial, sexist. It's disgusting. This is not how you live in America. This is not how you come to our country, or you have been born here and don't learn some core fundamental values that, look, you may not agree with what we're doing. I don't agree with what some rules are. I want to run every stop sign when I'm running late to an appointment. I know better. I know I'll get pulled over. I was raised different, and I was raised in a way to say, you treat everybody the same. You don't do anything that is discriminatory. Don't park in a handicap spot. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I'm so glad I had those values instilled in me, because there's so many people right now, instead of looking out for one another, are looking out for themselves. I'm being met right now with that I was racial and I racially profiled people. First of all, that's physically impossible, because if there were 70 to 75 people out at the pool, it's not like I went out to the pool and said, only the minorities leave, or only women leave, or only children leave. It was everybody get the fuck out of the pool. Everybody needs to leave. Even with the police reports, it's still the same thing. Yes, there was certain groups that were involved much more, just based on the number of people that were out there, and the ones that didn't leave, and the ones that refused to leave, and the ones that also geared each other up. And this wasn't just Black residents. This was Hispanic. This was white. There was an Asian person. This was a mob mentality. And that's the sad part about it. Greystar's aware of all of this. Apparently they have video footage that's been turned over by the residents so they can make evictions later. It's been 2 weeks. None of that has been given to my attorney. None of it has been given to the Dallas police to make arrests. I can't file restraining orders so I can sleep at night knowing that they can't come within 1,000 feet of me, whether that's at my home, a grocery store. I live 6 minutes from the property. The variable of me running into them is really high. And I don't want to have to, every time I go into a store, be looking around fearful that I can't do what I need to do to sustain my own living. So my company opted, they never got a statement from my husband. They never called him. They called my maintenance guy once. They never called me to ask me really the whole situation. It was just document it and give it to us, and we're going to evaluate everything. And of course it's met with, well, there's so many conflicting stories. What the hell is going to go and say, yep, I assaulted that manager. I beat him up. I'm the one who put the fire extinguisher in his mouth. Because your military status is tied to this. Your visa is tied to this. You're not going to go and report this, but you're going to go and you're going to post this online, and you're going to brag about it to your friends that you're the one that did this. Those messages were sent to our ownership last Monday. Nothing was done. My workers' comp insurance actually had contacted and copied me on the email that I have and said, thank you, Chris, so much for being able to provide the information of at least one of the people who assaulted you. We will be filing charges and subrogate for damages. The corporate's response from their executives was, no, do not do that. Do not file for subrogation. Don't do that. Under workers' compensation law, you can't tell an employee or the workers' compensation company what to do. I was basically told not to file, not to contact the police, to let it resolve itself. Let's see how things play out. The police haven't contacted you thus far, so maybe they don't have enough evidence. No, it's not they don't have enough evidence. It's the police didn't do their job, and now we're relying on a detective. So I've kept my mouth quiet this whole time. I'm not somebody who's going to go and be retaliatory and go up to the property and threaten residents like I was threatened. But Tuesday, I got put on paid admin leave. As a person who was assaulted on your property for doing their job, being told to go out there and do your job, then come back out to the property next day and do your job, come back out to the property Sunday and do your job, Monday and Tuesday send letters out to your residents. This isn't a management company that's concerned about my safety. They're making rash decisions based on what they may look up in their playbook, but this hasn't played out the way they wanted it to. And when I instructed my corporate office, I said on Sunday, I talked to my regional, I said, look, we need 24/7 patrol for at least the next 60 days. I have text messages. Yes, 2 officers. We'll have one that patrols the pool and the amenity areas and the hallways, and the other one will literally just sit at the gate and check cars in and out the whole time. So I was like, great. I feel safe that my team members can go into the office tomorrow and they can actually do their job. But as the day went on, it was an $18,000 expense. It's too much money. We can't pay that. The property's not bankrupt. The owners have billions of dollars. This isn't like a small mom and pop company. This is Greystar, that is the largest real estate investment firm in the country and one of the largest, if not the largest in the world. They have money. They have the ability to do this. Our owners have hundreds of properties and have different individual facets of their company. They have the money to do this. There is no reason that nothing was done. I had asked them to put cameras on the property since I got there in September of last year. Same ownership, different management. I asked to be transferred off this property 36 times because of residents that have thrown me against the wall, have kicked me, have called me faggot, have threatened to kill me, have broken into our office to try to assault me because they didn't like the fact that a policy was put into place, or they got a $25 trash fine after multiple warnings. So as the week progressed, I kind of just was waiting, and I called my regional on Thursday and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, you're not putting me on paid admin leave. You're trying to find a way to minimize your loss. I'm the lowest common denominator. I'm the person that you feel you can blame and scapegoat all of this to. And that's not going to be, I'm not going to allow that to happen, because that's not facts. That's complete fictitious statements, all in an effort to secure their bottom dollar. You're telling me that my life is less than $18,000. My team members' lives are less than $18,000. My leasing agent is gay. He doesn't want to return to work. I don't blame him. My maintenance guys are fearful that they could get beat up on the property. One of my maintenance guys that was the witness, I'm telling him, I'm like, tell him to transfer you. If you need to get off that property, ask. My maintenance manager asked for a transfer. And it's being met with my regional, well, let's just see what happens. Okay, so because I wasn't killed, that wasn't good enough. And the reality of all of this is, I knew I was going to get fired. This is how property management companies operate. Most companies have a scapegoat, and it's always the property manager. It's always going to go back to the property manager, the project manager, the person that's in supervision, because you're supposed to be all omnipotent and know everything you're supposed to do. Be a truth teller, be a truth reader, be a mind reader, be a counselor, be a social worker. We don't get, just like the police are complaining right now that they don't have resources for that, or they don't have the ability. Now all that's being shifted back onto us as essential workers. They're not coming out and making arrests for people that aren't wearing masks, or are spitting in our faces, or coughing on us, threatening that they have COVID at the pool, which was something that a few residents did, was saying that they had COVID and coughing on me. My management company was made aware of it. The text message I got Sunday was, let's go ahead and shut the pool down for 2 weeks. And if this happens again, we're shutting it down the whole season. Every night that I've been gone since last Tuesday, the property has been broken into. There's been thousands and thousands of dollars in gate damage, in pool damages. My patrol company has called me saying, we're not getting direction from what does Greystar want us to do? Do they want us to arrest these people? No, they don't. They want you there to protect their asset. Make sure that nobody vandalizes where there's going to be another cost. So yesterday's conversation at 3 p.m. the conversation was at 3 o'clock about where we go from here. And the conversation basically was my regional with my regional vice president, Trish Martin, on the call. And my regional starts off with, hey, let's look at this and evaluate this. And we no longer think that you're right for the company. We think that you don't meet our core values. A ubiquitous term that doesn't mean anything. What are core values? Because I don't see you having any core values yourself. You let a manager get not only attacked, gay bashed, assaulted. I will have permanent vision loss. I will have permanent hearing issues. I have balance issues. I have the inability to hold things in my hands for very long without dropping things. I'm waking up every night with having to change my sheets from sweating, screaming, to the point where I've had a neighbor come over to my house thinking that we were beating the shit out of each other because I'm having PTSD. And maybe I wouldn't have PTSD if my management company did the right thing and gave information to the police that they're sitting on for 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks at this point, almost 2 weeks at this point. Why isn't that been turned over? Why aren't they cooperating? What am I supposed to do the next time this happens? What happens when somebody does get killed on the property with the management company failing to address this? And more importantly out of this isn't just my crusade. This is a crusade that all of us need to be involved in. There's millions of us as essential workers. You tasked us with reopening your economy. You tasked us with opening your restaurants and bars because you weren't able to drink at a bar for 2 months. And instead of you going and saying, thank you, cashier, for the store being open today, and you risking your fucking life because I want to go buy 400 rolls of toilet paper and literally strip it and go sell it online. Or the waitress. We had a waitress the other night at a restaurant called Desert Racer here, and I stopped her on the way out, and I was like, thank you so much. And she gave me a really weird look. And she goes, thank you. And I said, no, Thank you for wearing your mask. I watched you the whole time because I don't want to get COVID. I don't want to be locked up in my house either. I know you need us to come to your restaurant so you can pay rent and you can have a living and you can buy groceries. And I feel there is a fundamental right and a moral obligation you have as a person. I'm an avid believer in karma. What goes around comes around. You do good, good comes back to you. You do bad, bad comes back to you. But in this situation, it's not just that. You're put on this planet to be a good person. Whether you're religious or not, it does not matter. It doesn't matter your political party, your race, ethnicity, your gender, your creed, none of that matters. Kind of the point of all this is this is not an acceptable way to treat any employee. Companies are, we all know this, the companies are so concerned about their bottom line. And we have individuals, like I said, myself being included, that are victims of assault, victims of hate crimes, victims because they're Black or LGBT or Hispanic. And we have a president and we have governors that are okay with this. And apparently the Dallas police is on that as well. They're so concerned about their optics on one group right now, which they should be really concerned about that group. But you can't ignore everybody else, and you can't say, we don't want to have negative optics on BLM right now, and we're going to negate everything else. And I feel like that's part of the reason that there's these stall tactics right now to not get information out to the community, to not provide us with the video footage so I can file restraining orders. But the biggest issue with it is the negligence on the management companies. You know, if you want to get into core values as far as a reason to fire me, then what core values are you lacking that you're going to let your manager who is assaulted, who has visible wounds, who has x-rays, who has had counseling, PTSD, medication changes, this isn't like it was made up. And regardless of what the other side says, they're going to have their story. No one was touched by me. No one was hit. No one was, I didn't threaten to kill anybody. And the management company should take responsibility in that. And there's also gross negligence on their part. Under OSHA, they're required to provide a environment free of hostility and toxicity. And when you report this over and over and over to your management company that, hey, residents here that have had guns pulled on us. We have had residents that have threatened to stab us with voicemails that have gone to our corporate office. My goal with this is, yes, I need to be made whole. I need to get reimbursed for medical expenses and to have the workers' comp work that out. But on the other side is the company and the ownership of this property, they need to be held up. And the sad thing is there's people there that were witnesses that are team members of mine that could be the next one to get assaulted or killed. And at what point does it become too much? At what point does a company sit there and say, look, we're being met with residents that are threatening this. We know you're not racist. We know this, we know that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna tell these residents, thank you so much for your video footage. You just admitted that you were in violation. We're evicting you, which is what the conversation was day one. But because they're concerned that there could be mounting pressure, or this one individual specifically with the military threatening that he's gonna get 20 witnesses, it's been almost 2 weeks. If you had information, you would have turned it over right now. You'd be doing the same thing that I would be doing. You'd be fighting. And I'm not only having to fight for what is right, I'm having to fight for my life, my safety, my financial well-being, and a lot of that's taken care of with the workers' comp. And I could be like a lot of other people that's like, yay, I have money, I'm really not working, but I'm getting paid to do this. Let's just sit at home and not do anything. And I'm not. I'm started a change.org petition. I'm reaching out to try to see how we can start labor unions. This industry is so toxic that the minute something goes wrong, or the minute a resident says that you did something, it's let's figure out who we can get rid of and how we can minimize that loss for us. Same thing with the airline industries is, you shouldn't be able to go on an airplane and hold an airplane almost hostage in a way in 30,000 feet in the air because you opted not to wear a mask. Similar to Ted Cruz not wearing a mask. You're setting bad examples for people, and people are looking at that as you being some type of mentor or leader. And when we have a president that's saying masks don't matter, masks don't work, take this medication, take that medication, oh, it killed a bunch of people. And when we have citizens that rely on that information, and then we go to the police for help, and the police turn their backs on us and ignore us. And then we go to our management company and we say, hey, police aren't helping us. What do? You have billions of dollars. You have a huge legal counsel. You have all these resources. You could have done the right thing. You could have sat there. You could have put me on paid admin leave if that's what you felt you needed to do, or put me on, transfer me to another property. As far as this investigation goes into this, again, you are claiming you have information from people who assaulted me and could have murdered me, and you're not turning it over to the police. You're committing a federal offense. You're committing something that can carry more than 20 years in prison, and not Camp Cupcake. We're talking big people prison. And the company doesn't care. They're not bending into any of these requests. Friends of mine have been post on their Westfield footage over. Hopefully they do the right thing, because we've already submitted for preservation of evidence with my attorney, and that doesn't stop them from deleting things. That doesn't stop them from trying to evict them on property, so it's harder for us to subpoena them. And that's the most disgusting thing out of all this is you have a person who has busted their ass on this property. My team has busted our ass. And when we're met with this resistance, I should expect that there will be somebody in my corner. And I'm so thankful for my friends and family and people like yourself, David, that have reached out. And
look, and this is where I just got to jump in, man. I've just got to jump in because, I've given you the floor for what have we been on here for an hour total or something?
I can talk a lot.
Hey, you know what? That's exactly what you need, and that's what we want. That's what we need to hear the story and see what's going on. But I think there's so much going on here. I think there's so many moving parts, and we can connect it to the workforce. We can connect it to the management company. We can connect it to the airline industry. But isn't it all over society? Isn't it everywhere? Isn't that what we deal with? Isn't it the cancel culture, the blame game, the I don't want responsibility, so I'm going to put it off on somebody else? Isn't that what we're seeing in politics? Isn't that what we're seeing in day-to-day life, not only in the workplace, but in the schools, in the family even? I mean, and these are the issues that we really need to talk about. I mean, I have to be really honest with you. I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. I do support the president, not in everything. I don't think anybody supports him in everything. But, there's things that we're going to agree about and things we're going to disagree about. But you're right. I mean, this is something that's a travesty no matter what, your color, your sexual preference, your religion, your race, whatever it is, it's about hate. And that's what the volatile situation that we're in right now is, just all because of that. And when we break it down, everybody tries to, make their hate the specialty hate. If it's a color issue, then like you said, they're catering to the BLM movement right now because they're the ones that are making the most noise. That's the way it goes, isn't it? And someone else is going to feel neglected and someone else is going to feel taken care of, and it goes on and on. So when we look at a situation like this, the management company needs to be held accountable. And that's the beautiful thing. I think you're in a great position to teach them a lesson. Pride comes before the fall, and these people seem like they're really trying to, make you the scapegoat. We're not supposed to get along about anything. Okay, that's just the basic facts. Is that we're not supposed to have anything in common. We're not supposed to be able to relate to each other. So nobody wants this to happen. That's why I'm excited to have this happen. This needs to happen more. We need to have more of these interactions between people, different siding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the way we look at, you hear a lot of people talk about how divisive and how divided and how we're this close from a civil war, and yet if you go to the grocery store, it's not like that. If you just go to the park and walk your dog, you don't see that, and that's what we really have to keep in mind is that for whatever reason we're all falling into the same thing of I don't trust my neighbor, I don't trust the police, I don't trust my boss, I don't trust, have faith in my job or in my neighborhood. They don't want us together. And that's something that I think that these kind of conversations, in us trying to help you spread your message and get your story, I want you to understand that there are conservatives and Christians that are sick to death at this kind of behavior, that we don't condone
Right.
these. And I know you know that.
I don't really think that there's fundamentally bad people out there that are just like doing the snidely whiplash, twirling of the mustache, thinking of how they can go out and screw people and fuck them over.
Uh,
And that's what we need to see more of. We need to see more of people that are having conversations. I mean, I have friends of mine that are Republicans. I have friends of mine that are extremely religious.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that I have to agree with them, but
No,
it also doesn't mean that if I don't agree with them, I'm not going to go beat them up and I'm not
that's
going
right.
to assault them or I'm
That's
not
right.
going to commit a hate crime. It's I can disagree. I can get into extremely heated arguments with friends of mine, but I know in their core, in their fundamental being, is they're not a bad person. We just
That's
don't
right.
agree on everything. My favorite color is purple. Somebody else is red. I'm not going to be able to persuade you to like purple, and you can't do red to me. But I can at least listen and understand, process it, and have a conversation about it that can
Well,
result in educating each other.
well, you said it. Educate each other, but listen to understand. Don't listen to respond. And that's the thing. So many of us, we just want to get that quick comeback. We
Right.
just do what's the cut down or whatever's popular or whatever, and that is so antisocial.
Right.
And really, we just need to get back to the, and I wrote a piece a couple of years ago about waving at each other. We don't even wave at each other anymore. When I was a little
Yeah.
kid, we drive down the street, you wave at strangers, and they wave back.
Yeah.
Everybody says, "Do you know them?" He said, "No, I just, wave at everybody." And that's kind of where we need to be. That's the
Yeah.
America that everybody has.
Yeah, and I love when they've done the pay it forward days. I think that that's great. You don't see that as much as Starbucks anymore, as much as you used to. And I'm one of those people that if I had an infinite amount of money, that I would carry money around, and when somebody did something that I thought was really positive, they need help, where you can give them money, you can help them out, give them advice. And I'm one of those people that even with what I'm going through right now is I'm working with my team members on site because they're concerned with their own safety, and I should be just dealing with myself. I have enough to deal with, but that's not how I am. I can't just sit there and lie in bed every day, feel sorry for myself that this happened. There needs to be change, and there needs to be a fundamental change. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you believe. The bottom line is hating on somebody else is so much work. That energy, if you just used it someplace else, you could probably be a very creative person that may be able to help with systemic change. And instead of looking at other groups, and even with other minorities trashing out other minorities, even within our own LGBT movement, there's ones in our group, the different sex, where, sometimes gays don't think that they don't understand transgender. Well, you don't have to understand it if you don't ask. So talk about it, open up a dialogue. I have friends of mine that are every color, creed, it doesn't matter. I call it United Nations as my friends. And I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up that it was acceptable to call somebody the N-word or to refer. Yeah.
Just to hate. That's right. We weren't raised to hate each other, but we've been programmed to.
Right.
And that's why so many of us are fighting the program, because it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel good for me not to like you when I don't even know you.
Yeah.
And that's what society wants us to do to each other. That's what politics is all about. I'm tired of the whole red and blue thing.
I'm independent, Green Party, libertarian. I'm definitely going to be more on the left side. But I understand why the right side thinks that they do, due to personal experiences. My views have changed because of, up until a couple months ago, I didn't understand reparations. I'm 40 years old, and I was like, I just don't get it. And then I watched this really long video about systemic racism and the Tulsa massacres, and I sat there and I was like, holy shit. Like this has been explained in school, but not explained to this degree. And it changed my view overnight. And I was like, oh my God, this is something that's needed. And it doesn't mean that I was a bad person before because I didn't believe that. I was educated and I understood, and I was able to put myself in somebody else's perspective.
That's exactly right. And until you can understand, and it's like you said, I don't have to accept everything. I don't really have to understand. I just have to hear you out and try.
Right.
And that's the thing. I mean, we're not going to get it. You weren't raised like me, and I wasn't raised like you, and we have our different backgrounds, different histories, and different belief systems, and all that stuff. But we can sure be friends, and I help you, and you can. It's just great like that. So back to your story. So what are the long-term medical repercussions in the vision?
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the fire extinguisher. I mean that's deadly stuff.
Yeah. So the good thing about the fire extinguisher is um, a lot of it was thrown up, and it runs out of your system really quick. So if I've been trying to make jokes that if you run out of an enema, just drink some fire extinguisher fluid, because it just, so that's all gone. So that's all resolved. The vision's still going to be there. I'm going to an ophthalmologist hopefully next week or the week after with the workers' comp. But there's permanent vision disparity. They talk about if your eye changes more than 1 point, it's considered significant vision loss. Mine is between 2.75 and 3.25, to the point where the optometrist and the ophthalmologist said, if you didn't tell us you were assaulted, we would wonder what you were doing to your eye to make that
Wow.
happen. Like other long-term, I'm going through chiropractic. My vertebrae in my neck from the impact are just a straight line. It's supposed to have curvature towards it. So there's balance issues still with the concussion. But the biggest thing on it's the PTSD. I went to my doctor's office 2 days ago for a counseling appointment, and when I pulled into the office, there was a cop car sitting there. I had a massive panic attack and meltdown because the last time I saw police were leaving me alone after I was attacked. And that's something that I will ultimately have to live with the rest of my life. I'll be able to cope with it and learn coping skills and coping mechanisms. There's obviously a medication element to it that does help. It's kind of like working out. You need to take supplements and go working out to balance everything out. But
people don't understand that though, because
no.
Once again we go back to our programming and we go back and think. I've seen all this on movies. I see people get beat up. I see violence, and it's just no big thing. So it's hard for us to empathize with somebody, or sympathize with them. We can't put ourselves in their shoes, of course. But we're just like, hey, life happens, and how do we help you get the point across that your story, as much as it's the same as a lot of things we hear, it's different in the fact that this is just a community issue. This has gone beyond. It's not a workplace issue, although it is. It's not a racial issue, although it is. It's not a sexual issue, although there's so many things going on here. But for it to be such a close, community to live together and work together and be together, it blows my mind that people don't have more humanity than to that way. I mean, we weren't raised like that. How can you explain that? I don't get it.
I grew up north, and the first time I saw somebody who was Asian was in 4th grade, and we had an exchange student. I knew that Asians existed, just never saw one. Didn't meet a black person until 6th grade. My response wasn't anything like, oh my God, there's somebody who's a different color, like I should treat them differently. It was, oh, there's just an Asian student here, or there's a black student here, or Hispanic student. That stuff was just taught in my family, that you just didn't do that type of things. I've always been somewhat of a crusader on that, to the point where in 6th grade, our our elementary school principal wouldn't let the girls play touch football because they were too delicate. I hate football. I'm not going to be it's hot out. Like, I'm not that person, but I started playing touch football because I knew it was wrong. And I knew that it wasn't an appropriate thing for our principal to be doing. And I started a petition. Home, my mom thought I was going to get my ass beat. And instead of her doing that, she went upstairs, came down 2 hours later and said, if you want adults to sign this, it needs to come from an adult perspective. And I went out, got signatures. We started staging walkouts. We started protesting at recess. You're in 6th grade. There's not a whole lot you can do, but we did enough to where it made attention, and it got the principal to change his views. And since then, I was taught you don't use those words. It was met with not just you're grounded, like you're getting swatted for it. And that was something that when people use it as freely as they do now, I question them on that. And sometimes even when it's a joke, I'm an avid believer that, you can take away the sting of the word, if there's a joke about it, but using that word also it allows people to use it, and it gives them the freedom to do it. And the responses usually are, well, if you can the N word to somebody. And I agree, those words should not be used. This is similar to what they did with after Hitler after Hitler killed, and Germany right now will not allow you to hang a Nazi flag. You can't do a Nazi salute. You cannot say anti-Semitic things. There are penalties for that, and because they know it brings hate speech, they know it brings out the white nationalists. There was an understanding that, hey, our country did some really fucked up shit back in the 40s. We really missed the mark on it. But the country has tried to rebound from that. Japan is another country that's tried to rebound from it. And when we look at our own country, we're so big. I always say we're so big about infusing our dick of democracy in every other country's mouth that we never look at it ourselves. We're so busy saying that country in Africa, poor them, let's send them aid. I agree, we need to send them aid and we need to help them, but we need that help now. And I'm not a religious person, but if I was, I'd say it would be more Buddhist. I'm more of self-actualization, reaching your higher power from within. And that's not a selfish thing. Be the best that you can be to be better for everybody else. You can't do better if you don't know better. And my hairstylist of mine, I forget her name, she said that to me, and that was just resonated in my mind. I was like, you can't be a better person if you don't try. And I feel like with our society, it's just easy. It's just easy to be rude and mean and nasty because we see it all the time. But there's no repercussions for it.
That's right. And that's the most thing. It's like quickest comeback or the sharpest wit or the quickest tongue to cut somebody down the best. That's what's popular. That's what we've been programmed for.
Right.
There's so many things. So what I want to do with you is keep this conversation going. I want to check in with you, please, because this is exactly, like I said, what nobody wants to happen. We've got to get to the bottom of why we feel the way we do, why we're made to feel the way we do, because we really don't feel the way they say we do. And that's something that the awareness. So Stop Hate is an acronym. It stands for Start Turning Off Prejudice, Heal Attitudes Through Education. That's what we're doing here. We're not prejudging. We're not bringing anything to the table. We're just talking like people, like friends. It's amazing when we find out that we have a lot more in common than we do different. And that's the difference in the media. And I know that whoever believes the media is fake news, this and that, I think both sides now are kind of under the impression that they may not really always work for us. It's just kind of strange. But that's another topic. But what I would like to do with you is explore some of them, because you're a good guy. Like you said, we need to bring back civil debate. We need to be able to talk about things, even if we get a little red in the face sometimes, as long as we can still part friends. That's the way I look at it, because I'm not going to know about how you really feel unless I hear it from you.
Right.
Nobody else is going to give me your story. Nobody else is going to tell me your truth other than you. And together, as Democrats, as Republicans, as Christians, as straight, gay, it doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter what color. It's the smorgasbord, the melting pot. It really does mean something. Everything seems to be, bastardized. They try to cheapen every little thing about both sides. And that's the thing. I wonder a lot of times if the red and blue doesn't just make your favorite color. If they're not just really working together all the time, keeping us right where we are, because it works better for them. But I know y'all have frustration with things just like we do. And the day that we start talking about it and come together, that's when we take our power back as the people. Because right now, I talked to a friend the other day, and he's already back. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, the worldview, everybody views America like they're conceited, arrogant, rich, spoiled brats. And I get that." I said, "Whose fault do you think that is?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you blame the people for that, or you blame the politicians for that? Because most of the world only sees what the politicians want them to see.
Right.
And a lot of times that's our fights. So it makes us look weak from the inside too. It's just a little mind that a lot of people don't look into it. They don't want to. It's this whole instant gratification society. If I don't understand it, I don't have time to learn about it.
Right.
I'm better off not knowing, so I should just go back and do what I do, which I'm totally against. So what I really respect about you is your action. Doing the things that you've done, doing the petitions. However you need help with your GoFundMe, we want to help you.
Thank
With
you.
the attorneys, I do have some good relationships with some great, powerful attorneys. If yours need any help, please let me know. That would be
I
great. But
definitely will.
the main thing is just the activism part. For me is we have the hardest time motivating anybody to get off
Yes.
the and to get involved, and that's on both sides. So it's just something that we have to, I think, approach together. And it's not going to do anybody any good if nobody does anything, or if just a few people get involved. It's the same thing.
Right.
So I'm excited to have this first of hopefully many
Me too.
conversations, and
Yeah,
that's great.
I want my experience, I want there to be an education element to it so people understand. And my whole thought process has always been, if you're happy and you make other people happy, then we're all happy and we all are going to have a much better life and we're going to have a much better existence.
That's right.
We're flooded with negativity, and people get spicy chicken nuggets at Wendy's when they order regular nuggets. And instead of just dealing with it and going home and being an adult and knowing you lost $1.19, calm down, like take a breath. That's really not worth it. But people are more upset about those small things because they take it as a personal attack. Same thing when it comes to not understanding somebody, somebody who may want to wear a hijab at Walmart. You don't have to understand it, but if you don't talk to that person, you're just going to sit there and make prejudicial remarks. You're going to think hateful things. Educate yourself. I mean, there's things that I've learned I think everybody should be learning stuff every single day, and have conversations with people about it and talk to people. Hey, I have a friend of mine that's Republican, huge, into it. We have gone to arguments until we end up drinking ourselves to where we forgot what we were started arguing about. But walk away from him. He was one of the first people that reached out to me when it happened. And I know people shit on him. We joke back and forth about stuff. He picks on me, I pick on him. But I know deep down he's a good person. And regardless of what his views and values are, there's a core inside everybody. And I know he's a good person. And I know that the other people that I haven't talked to in a long time, or just new people that have messaged me just to see how I'm doing, that's huge. And I'm not going to sit there and look at their profile and go, well, what political party are they assigned to? What church? You're just a good person. And if more people would turn that light switch on in themselves and stop looking down a tunnel without the light at the end of it, I think that we would have more people that were in a happier state. And we might not have some of the political issues that we do. Instead of all the fighting, if people weren't fighting so much and we're like, let's actually sit down, stop locking doors on either side. It's stupid. One side does it, the other side does it. It's immature and childish. So sit the fuck down, do your damn job. You're supposed to protect us. You're supposed to serve us as politicians to do your job. And when it comes to things with what I'm dealing with, instead of looking at the news every day and watching some killed and dismembered and attacked, everything, sit down and go, oh my God, this is a problem for everybody. It's not one person, it's the whole group. So let's create systemic change that will impact everybody positively and your generations from there on. And this is a time.
But that's what we see, though. Our politicians don't seem to really represent us anymore. They don't work for us.
I have huge term limits. It needs to be term limits.
Big time. We totally agree on that. See?
Yeah, term limits.
We agree with both politicians should do what we agree with, but they're not. So that means they don't work for us. And it's the same as the police. They are no longer there to protect and serve. Unfortunately, their hands have been tied.
Right.
And due to our legal system the way it is, and the way everybody's so sue happy for everything. And so, that's one of the things that, we've become such a lawyer-oriented society. Everybody's got to, be lawyered up. And unfortunately, you've learned that firsthand in the worst possible way. But imagine if you were in that situation and did not have access to any help, legal help at all. That's what we find most people. And just like you, I run into a lot. Yeah, can you help me with the lawyer? Can you help me with, this case that I'm going through? I've been attacked, and no one will help us. So, we do have access to attorneys. Anyone that watches this that needs help with lawyers, contact me. I can send you links and numbers and information and stuff. And like I said, if your attorney needs any help, we've
Yeah,
got
I
guys
appreciate that.
all over with that, and big, powerful civil rights people that
Good.
are in it for the right reasons, and it's not the money. That's the thing. A
Yeah.
lot of people that we're getting to know, they're in it for the right reasons. So we're really excited to be able to build a bigger team with people from a broader spectrum, so we
Right.
can really get down to the nitty gritty of what are the real issues, and how do we find solutions for them. Everyone talks about the problems, all day long. They're blue in the face. Everybody's been reduced to a talking point. And, I'm tired of it. I can tell who's talking by what they're saying now, because they say the same stuff
Right.
so many times. And we're both locked in this echo chamber politically, where I can't hear what y'all are saying and y'all can't hear what I'm saying. And that's intentional too,
Right.
so we have to find a way to break these chains that keep us apart, because there's no reason we can't go out and have a beer or whatever,
Yeah.
hang out, have fun, and enjoy each other's company. But,
Yeah.
the whole pretense that the media and the institutions and the powers that be educate us that that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's a cat and mouse game, and to me it's ridiculous, because when I grew up in somewhat of a independent Republican household, I had my own values and views that were different. Being gay obviously does shape a whole lot of that, but
Sure.
again, is you can have a conversation with somebody, ask them why they think that. Why are you so pro-gun? What is your belief? And I'm a big person on reform with gun control. I don't think that we need assault rifles, but I think there needs to be insurance that's put with guns. I think that would change a lot of things. But I'm if you want to have your Second Amendment rights, great. But I'm not going to have a gun. I never grew up with one, don't want one. But I can understand why somebody would, because I've run into people before that there was a horrific thing that happened to a family member when they were little, or their grandparents or whatever. And there is a reason that they need that, or a reason why somebody may need to have an abortion that's not just because they didn't take birth control. So there's other, just with abortion, there's ways to actually dig deeper into that and say, well, if you don't like abortion on one side, then why aren't we giving contraceptive out? And why aren't we trying to control that?
Where's the counseling? Where's the priority? Where's the family unit? Where's all the things that are structured, even the church? Where's the support network?
Right.
There are more options, and we're not going to push you and direct you and lead you into something that's easier and better for us, or whatever, and the whole industry is crazy to me, but that's another subject. But and that's the truth, and that's the thing. But
Right.
we find the more we talk, we have so much more in common, because it's not that I want to force my beliefs on anybody else, and it's not that I know better. It's just we have our differences and we have our opinions, and this is where we do that. So we already know the term limits. We know that there needs to be counseling, abortion wise, things like this. The whole roundtable discussion thing needs to happen, where we can have conversations without being, ostracized by our own people.
Right.
Because I talk to a Democrat, or because I have meetings, or because I, whatever. I'm more independent than anything. I'm not like a Republican down the line. I can't do that. I vote with the people, but because I support our president, of course, I supported our last president, but nobody ever asked that. You have to. President, you're supposed to, that's what you do. You may not agree with them, but you still support them. Well, now if you're known to support this one, you're a racist. And it's amazing coming from me, somebody that's worked for almost 30 years in this field, trying to repair all these relationships with people, and say, hey, we really get along better than anyone wants us to know. So let's just move forward with this and just keep going, man, because people will appreciate this. People will appreciate this. They really will. This doesn't happen, and I want to see more of it. I want to talk to more of your friends, and I want more of your friends to talk to more of my friends. This is all we can do. And when the politicians see this, watch what happens. Watch what happens. Not just this.
Their heads will spin. Their heads will spin.
I really do think so. I really do, because this is what they fear. Because as long as they're in control, and like I said, I don't know how they get their money off of the civil disrest, but they must, because either party, to me, either party could step in and do something, but neither party does. So to me, they're both complicit in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So it's just something to consider. But man, I really have enjoyed it. And I'm sorry, like I said, about the technical difficulties. We've had a really fun time.